So, without further ado, I am going to turn it over to our very first speaker to get started. So, and this is absolutely true. Watch, we're going to practice this. Like, I'm going to set you all up very nicely for a big round of applause. Who's a big fan of being an alum of the University of Minnesota? Really? That's all you get? We bust a bunch of people in from Wisconsin. That's good. So we're gonna hear about making the journey from graphic design in Illustrator to user experience design. Now, I will say, going first is always very special, but also very scary. So please, I want you to make the biggest, most boisterous round of applause that you can for our very first Design in 7 speaker, Carla Fabian, everybody!
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here, and thank you for that very warm welcome. I will admit, when I first got this email to speak tonight, I was definitely feeling that imposter syndrome. And as I was having all those emotions and doubts spin through my head, I stumbled upon this quote that says, "Only you can tell your particular story through your particular lens and your particular experience. That makes you uniquely qualified to write the story." This stood out to me because as a UX designer, storytelling is my very favorite part of the job. One of the things I've taken away from listening to so many user interviews is that there isn't a specific amount of time or event that occurs that makes one story more valid or important than anybody else's. In fact, listening to stories of people at all stages of life and from all backgrounds builds connection and inclusion because stories help us understand the world around us. As someone who typically prefers to be behind the scenes, I realized I don't often share my own story. So I decided, since they're giving me this entire stage for the next 7 minutes, now is the perfect time to face my fear of public speaking and share my own story, and hopefully some of you find it helpful today. So my parents are from Puerto Rico, and a little bit before I was born, they decided to make the move to Minnesota. As you can see, it's quite different. Besides the obvious difference in climate, the other biggest difference is the language. And my family was a little different than other bilingual households who might speak their native language at home and English when they're out. We just spoke both at the same time. So as soon as I could speak full sentences, I was a very talkative, fluent Spanglish speaker. Here's me at 5. I'm headed to kindergarten. I've got that classic 90s full denim outfit on. I have a Pocahontas pillow for nap time. I'm ready to go. And when I first got there, everything was going great. I was having fun, making new friends. But as time went on, I started to notice that my friends and even the teachers didn't always seem to understand what I was saying. That became my first inkling that Spanglish is not an official language. I realized the other kids don't speak the same way I do, and I'm actually just speaking 2 different languages. At the time, I didn't know any other kids that spoke multiple languages or even whose families weren't from here. So in an attempt to fit in, I decided I was only going to speak English now. The problem with this, I didn't actually know which words were English, which words are Spanish. It's just a jumble of words in my head. So I kind of became a quieter, more reserved kid. However, I still had plenty to say. So I turned to the next best thing, visuals. And as a kid, I spent a lot of time drawing. As you can see from my Instagram, I still very much do that to this day. Eventually, this leads me to getting a degree in design and starting my career as a graphic designer. In the beginning, I had this impression that you're supposed to have this 5 to 10 year plan and that there's this predefined career ladder and you're supposed to just work your way up it. Well, I don't know if you've seen The Good Place, but my reality is that it felt a little bit more like I was on the Jeremy Bearimy timeline. I didn't have a 10-year plan. All I knew was that I wanted to be a designer, so I just said yes to whatever came along. I was just kind of producing work, and I couldn't really articulate why I was making the design decisions that I was making. And because I didn't have a plan, I didn't really know if these projects were leading me up the ladder, down the ladder, sideways. I was just kind of going with the flow. I didn't really get a sense of where I wanted my career to go until I started a new role working with qualitative researchers to illustrate and bring to life people's stories in order to help our clients better understand who their customers are. As I listened to people tell their stories and share their lives with us, the more inspired I became, the more ideas I had, and the more passionate I actually felt about the work I was doing. That was when my entire mindset of what my role as a designer actually was changed. Despite the fact that I'm hired by a business to solve problems, I realized I don't actually solve business problems. I solve people problems. As humans, we often see a problem and we immediately want to jump in and fix it. And you see a lot of companies do this. They'll come up with a product that solves something, they launch it, and sometimes it doesn't go as well as they expected. The problem with immediately jumping into the solution space is that we're not acknowledging that we're probably not the end user. Without taking the time to actually talk to the people we're trying to help, we have no context into how they think, what their lives are like, their history, pain points. And without that insight, we don't truly understand these small little nuances of the problem we're trying to solve. And those nuances truly make all of the difference. As the digital world continues to expand and connect more and more people and communities, the more important it is to understand who we're designing for, which is one of the reasons UX design is in such demand right now. When we put aside our own preconceived ideas and truly empathize with others, we're able to come up with solutions that can actually help make a difference in people's lives. In many ways, I feel like I've come full circle into understanding that being different as a kid led me into a career that is all about celebrating differences. And not only was I able to find my own voice again, but now I'm able to give voice to people that don't often get a voice in the design process. I still say yes to seemingly random projects and occasionally do feel like I might still be in a Jeremy Bearimy timeline, but now I know why I'm designing. And I always make sure to keep people and stories at the center of that. Whether that's creating illustrations for an article, designing Giphy stickers to help others share their own stories on social, or creating a website that highlights a small hotel's rich history in northern Minnesota. I still have a ways to go in my career, but I've learned that it's okay not to have all the answers. Be open to the opportunities that come your way and know that your voice does matter. Thank you for listening.
Wow, yay, yay, good job. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, look at this.